Welcome to Throwback Thursdays at Historic Wagner Farm. It's almost Thanksgiving, and in today's Musings from the Morris Chair, we're going to talk about some favorite American holidays. In particular, that most Christian of holidays, Christmas. Now, Christmas has not always been what we think of it as today. If we go back to Tudor England, Christmas went all the way from Christmas Eve to the end of Twelfth Night, when it was said that the Magi visited baby Jesus. That meant that they had days of celebrating to cover. Some of them were fairly religious and some pretty secular. Things like mumming, where you went to your neighbor's house dressed in a costume and gambled with them to try to win their money. By the time that the Wagners were immigrating in the 1850s, Christmas had definitely taken a turn, and the most Christmas of all icons had been introduced, the Christmas tree. Now, Christmas trees had existed in Europe for a while before that. In fact, many cultures had brought greenery into their houses at the end of the year to just kind of lighten the mood a little bit, if you know what I mean. It was Queen Victoria that brought the Christmas tree to England, though, and thus to English-speaking America. She introduced the Christmas tree because her husband was German and had always had Christmas trees, and so she brought the tradition to England, and thus Americans flocked to it. By the 1850s, it was all the rage. And by 1900, most Christian Americans had a Christmas tree, but they weren't exactly what we would think of today. Most of them were tabletop trees, and they were highly pruned. They looked more like a Charlie Brown tree than the full trees that we use today. They did have lights, but before the 1920s, they were mostly candles. So they didn't light them until Christmas Eve, and then they only kept them on for a short time. Obviously, not wanting to burn your house down was an emphasis. By the 30s or 40s, electric lights start to replace candles on Christmas trees, and people start to leave them on longer. And thus the tradition that we have today of decorating the tree and lighting it up was born. If you're interested in a Christmas tree, make sure to stop by Historic Wagner Farm on Black Friday or the weekend after. We'll have lots of trees for sale, and you can pick out a real live Christmas tree to take home with you. That's it for this week, but make sure to tune in to all of our channels here at Historic Wagner Farm, and I will see you next week.